is I went back to not necessarily only to the brand I represent, which is a hotel consolidator. I just take a step higher up and say, okay, what about mobile application altogether? I put in a couple of figures. I try to get as accurate as possible and as recent as possible. And let's go. So overall, the overall process is a 6-step process to design an app. What is extremely important, I believe, is obviously from 1 to 6 you can read the steps. The key item, I think, at this point is to involve all the parties at the beginning of the planning. Yeah. Too often we see marketing designing something fantastic, then it goes into web design or a mobile design, and then it comes into a payment solution, and then it comes into a tester group, and then something doesn't work, and then we start all over again. Have everyone talking at the beginning, everyone talking together, so that the developer can talk to the marketing, can talk to the user. And that will make it much easier to deliver a product that is extremely user-friendly. And when comes the testing phase, that it is known what has been thought of already. Yes. From the assessing the business, understanding the environment, the requirement, and what is the app used for, because I still see a lot of app on the market. I'm not exactly sure what's the point for the company to make an app. Is it purely transactional? Is it information plus transaction, or is it purely information items? So from there, I think what's important is the last couple of steps is we see it test, evaluate, reiterate, ongoing. And every time you launch a new release, a new version, make sure it works on the older versions. Yeah. How often do I open an app and I'm told I need to upgrade? I upgrade it and then suddenly it doesn't work because I'm still using an old operating system or an older version of a phone. So backward compatibility is important the moment you develop any application going forward. So first step in development, as we said, responsive website or adaptive website. Basically, from a screen to a tablet to a, what do you call it, phablet to a phone, to a medium-sized phone, and a different screen size. Basically, one item fits all. Responsive website, definitely. Some people would go the other way around, start from mobile, grow into a desktop. I would still think do first a proper responsive website that works in all the orientations and all the applications and all the screen sizes. In travel, obviously, what is done on the mobile is often the same, is research, book and purchase during the travel, and then review, share. So this is, I think Google a couple of years ago had this big wheel and show everywhere where Google is present. I think the activity hasn't changed over the time. It's still those 4 steps, plus minus 1, all over. Sorry. So I just outlined the key advantages of a responsive website. Obviously, when you develop it, you develop one site. So if you add a functionality, if you add information, if you change pictures and so forth, it's one item, one place, one point of entry. You capture a wider audience, obviously, maximize online presence, and no duplicate content. So everything is in one place again. It's much easier to maintain, and it's much easier to develop and update. And obviously, yes, it's a lower cost to develop it. Now, in terms of cost, I was just recently approached by a company here in Singapore developing websites. And for a separate project we're running, and I ended up being offered for quite a hefty sum of money, someone who would just take a a simple website, a preset website, and just add my pictures in, and they would sell it back to me. So quite often I see to the people, many companies are trying to sell us a web solution or mobile solution or responsive solutions, but they don't own the development. They just take a WordPress or whatever backbone and they develop it. So just be very aware what you're sold for, what money you ask for. From the responsive website, obviously, and there I found an interesting set of figures, depending on the source, in mobile hotel booking, the highest revenue is obviously on tablet and desktop. Again, this is for hotels. This is now combining leisure and corporate travel, where, yes, people may start the search on mobile while on the transit, on a bus, in a car if they're not, well, they shouldn't be driving. But the transaction is still done to quite a high extent on the laptop and then on the tablet. In terms of, we mentioned localization. In terms of countries, there was a survey done by Ipsos Public Affairs in August last year. They went out and interviewed 10,000 adults in 11 countries, asking them, have you already done a purchase online? Yeah? Independent of travel, independent of product they've bought. And the countries that came out first was, the 5 first countries was China, India, Great Britain, and Australia. Interesting enough, I would have thought, let's say, US would be higher. I would have thought other countries in Europe might be more connected and might be more active. Yeah? But definitely China with 18% of respondents, followed by India. Obviously, 2 markets in Asia Pacific where people have definitely to look into. There was today, I think, in the news, some comments of yesterday's conference where people are saying, oh, India or China yes, it's interesting, but things are a bit different, so we'll move forward step by step. I would urge companies not to wait and see too long for China, because else they're going to be left behind big time. So that's some data I picked from our intelligence or from our experience. So HRS has obviously we'll see later, we have a whole range of native apps. We have a tablet app as well, and there is a complete difference of the pattern and of the activities on those 2 medium, even though they're both mobile. So we have a smartphone user typically books during weekdays, late afternoon, for the same day or next day of arrival, and book for 1 or 2 nights. Again, HRS or our sites are more of a corporate travel related, versus the tablet user is more likely to be booking on a weekend in the evening between 8 and 10. So while watching TV, he or she is surfing on a tablet, making some transactions more in advance and for longer stays, so higher transaction value. On the left side here, I just show the amount of transactions compared to our overall transactions we have globally. So mobile is, well, we target to have a 50% mobile transaction level in 2017, but it has grown double-fold since 2011. HRS has had a mobile presence and a mobile hotel bookability since early 2000. So we've been in the mobile sphere for over 10 years, but obviously it's only recently that it has picked up. Here again, an info I found on eMarketer the other day from April to 2014. They are looking at the growth of mobile versus the decline of desktop transactions versus the overall travel numbers. So we see an interesting growth, obviously mobile going from 2014 growth of 60% The growth is slowing, but it's still double-digit, from 40 to 26 to 18 to 16%. Desktop marginally shrinking by 2%, between 1.5 and 2%. And in total, the growth remains between 4 and 5% for online travel channel, online booking channels. The advantage, the key advantage in obviously building a dedicated app, and that's something I often myself have the same experience, is when you search something on Google, you click through, you get to an optimized website, and you realize you have the app already, but you're still on the optimized website. So you close the optimized website, you lose your information, you go back onto the app, you put in the information again. So these kind of items I feel should by now be sorted out. So even if you come in from a search environment, you should directly fly into your app if it's installed. But definitely the advantage of the apps will be, we see a 1 to 6 fold loyalty or conversion on an app versus a mobile website. Extensive captured audience, higher loyalty, definitely. Once people download the app, they would feel comfortable with it. They would not get as confused using it for the first time. Again, there is a challenge when either the iOS is upgraded or the app is upgraded. We saw it from going from iOS 6 to iOS 7, changed the design more in line with what Apple had pushed out to create a more agnostic app, and we ended up having a much less conversion because people didn't feel really, they couldn't identify themselves with the apps they used to have before. And obviously we mentioned the speed of the apps. It's definitely important in countries where the internet is not yet mobile, or Wi-Fi is not yet accessible everywhere like we had in Japan. We had some issues in China, for example, where people would buy a certain size of data download. If your app is too big, people would simply not download it. So there's a combination of item again with to do with localization and to do with the market and the customers you're selling to. Here, well, a quick shot on the site, an optimized site or a mobile site as a website, and then the optimization. Again, this is what we just saw as a very transactional, very like not emotional site as most of them are going into now, with pictures, with a couple of buttons and so forth. Whereas here, after optimization, it's really, these are the categories, easy to find, easy to click, easy to spot. And one thing I just thought when I saw Alexandra, who's left-hander in the room? I know you are. Okay, someone's saying in both hands. Okay, that doesn't help me. No, I found this chat when developing apps, there are heat maps. Yeah. Where on the screen you get, where should your button be placed? How should your button be named? You know, what makes it easier to click? Where can you reach with one thumb? Do you need to pinch? Do you need to enlarge and so forth? Keep it in mind. Not later than this morning, I opened an app, come and add, and I said, like, click here to close the ad. So I tried to tap there, but it was probably 2.5 pixels or a couple of millimeters under the share button of the item behind. So I ended up sharing stuff I didn't want just because the buttons were not placed properly. So keep it in mind. Again, when we go into testing, when the app is in beta phase, make sure you test it not by the engineers who develop it, test it by the user who's supposed to use it. Yeah. How often do I go back to my IT department and say, hey, this function is no longer there, and I'm told, yes, it's there. You have to go here, click there, underscore here, and push there. I was like, no, it has to be where people find. So optimization, the key obviously, keep it quick, simplify navigation. We saw it with very transactional site or with a couple of pictures and 2 big buttons. Rather add a step instead of overcrowding a page. Even if it's a small screen, medium-sized screen, phablet or tablet. I like the thumb friendly. No. Visibility, accessible. This is then how to position the app and how to market the app per se. Easy to convert, localization, and so on and so forth. And there's an interesting saying, like, everything should be as simple as possible, but not simpler. So to take what we said before, the functionalities have to be there, have to be easy to find, have to be easy to be used. This is just a quick overview. This is the number of current native apps we are using, we are servicing. Some of them you may never have heard of. Some of them are no longer used much, but they're still in there. We still have some traffic on. So the challenge is you have the main 4 or 5 native app, which are now come forward. We have over 10-year history of building apps, and now we're still maintaining older system because that's what people are using when traveling. Some people are traveling into different countries, so they take a second SIM card on an old phone. The old phone still has an app. The app has to work with the right content. Now, quickly, I think I have two more slides. The most common user interface mistakes, and obviously not simplifying the feature set. So before we hear it, you need to be able to do exactly the same as on the main side. I'm tempted to say you have to be able to do the main functions. Some of the functions you may, I'm totally fine if the site tells me, okay, that for advanced items, you have to be on a bigger screen. I'd rather have that than to have a cavernous website trying to find my way around. Forgetting state. How often do you're browsing something on your phone, you're browsing something on your tablet, you get interrupted. Is it a phone call, is it a conference call or anything? You go back on your app, the app completely forgets that you were there before. So you have to find your way again. The app should know where you left to come back in. Not using finger-sized tap target, obviously, yes, the tiny little buttons too close one to each other and so forth. Overcrowding views, we mentioned. Keeping the user waiting without feedback. There, I think Thomas from Hotel Quickly has an interesting thing. When you open the app, there's always a little message displaying, but not like please wait or loading. There's always a little text, kind of, engaging, entertaining, and making it fresh, making it fun, making it different. So do something while the app is loading in the background. Displaying the wrong keyboards. Yeah, I think a set of 18 keyboards in iOS that can be used. Make sure you pick the right one for the right app, for the right localization. That's my favorite. Number 7, failing to do usability testing or result. How often are we marketing apps or using apps from third parties or from other companies, and you realize that the basic functions are not there, either they're not working or they are not where, they have been designed, there are flaws in design or in functionalities. Ignoring the speed and caching. Caching is possible on mobile devices as well, so that can be of help to a certain extent. And then overusing push notifications. You may want to confirm, you may want to have a couple of push notifications, but you don't want to have emails after emails going out or pop-ups or so, because at the end of the day, the user gets bored and they don't know what to do with it. Yeah? In terms of transactional website, one of my favorite now is Groupon, for those users in Singapore, for example. A couple of taps and you get your transaction done. You have the information you need. I think it's a very lean, it's a very well set up app, for example. And so, future trend, key takeaway, I think it's the last slide. Mobile is mainstream, no question about that. It's a matter of how and when, and we're going to go to 50, 60, 70% of mobile versus desktop. Desktop is here to stay. I don't think desktop will disappear completely. It may be in a different form. It may be cloud-based, but desktop will remain nevertheless. Native mobile apps, definitely. Windows 7 laptops. Windows 7 is as well one of the most used operating systems. So if you're planning to develop more the desktop side, keep in mind that that Windows 7, though challenged by Apple, Windows 7 is very strong. Personalization will grow. The app will, not only do you have a smartphone, but the apps will become smarter using the smartphone. So the apps will start to know everything you do on the phone. Yeah? And then small screen will grow. Obviously, we have the iPhone, we have the Samsung medium size, we have the small tablet, medium sized tablet, and so on. So there's a lot of development that will be done. I haven't yet seen apps that are designed to be on a medium sized phone, but I'm actually surprised no application who have used the additional space compared to the iOS screen. As much as I'm disappointed when you have some financial institute, for example, on an iPad, you find the same small little square you have on the iPhone screen, and that's their iPad app. So they don't use the rest. You can so you have the font double the size, but you waste the space. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope it wasn't too boring. And if you have any questions, shoot.